Just wanted to say good evening, and I know it's kind of an impromptu. Uh, Sorry, I'm kind of adjusting. Kind of an impromptu live. I'd been planning on doing this last week, and things just didn't quite work out the way I thought they would. So um, I don't really want to wait any longer, and I meant to say I was going live earlier, and then I just didn't get it out there. So I just figured if anything, I would just go ahead and go live, and whoever showed up, and um, so one definite message that's just kind of been on my mind, and then there's one other one that kind of hit me earlier today whenever I was uh, going through some studies or reading anyway. Um, so I'm doing another, started a new through the Bible, reading through the Bible, and it just something that hit me with it, and with what I read in Luke. So, but the first one I kind of wanted to go over is actually in Luke 3. And I look at this kind of from a farming aspect. I didn't grow up around a huge farm or anything. I grew up around guys that did farm a lot and helped them quite a bit. But one of the things that got me was whenever I thought about this one day after reading it, whenever we look at how things were done in Bible time versus how we do things now, there's a great bit of difference. And one of the things that really got me was in Luke 3, in verse 17, it says, his winnowing fork is in his hand to thoroughly clear his threshing floor and to gather the wheat into his barn. But he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. And one of the things when we look at that is when guys would get their wheat or their oats or whatever they were harvesting at the time, is they would take it and put it on this big slab, usually a rock of some kind, very flat. And they had a fork that they would toss this stuff up in the air. And when they did, what was called the chaff or the excess stuff that was lighter than the seed itself would blow away in the wind, and the seed would fall to the ground, and the rest of it would blow away into a different area, and then they could clean it up and get rid of it. Well, this wasn't a quick process. This took time to do, and it wasn't, it wasn't done in a day usually. It'd take quite a while. But then you look at how things are done today, and we have combines and different cutters that, especially combines, that will take the seed of wheat and it'll put it in a certain bin, and it'll spit out all the straw, all the stalk of the wheat, and all the fine stuff of the wheat, and it spits it out behind it onto the ground. And so, and it's very quick. It's very easy. And so you have two different ways of doing this. And in Jesus's time, you had a way that was slow. It was tedious. It took time to do this. It took time to sort everything the right way. And then you had to take time to clean up what you needed to get rid of and clean up what you were keeping so that it could be sorted out the right way. And whenever we read this is talking about salvation. This is talking about Jesus sifting the good from the unsaved, the saved from the unsaved. But it could still work, really, it could still apply in many ways to life as a person that we look at that Jesus is sifting through. And he's sifting through their life, and he's looking at them, and he's looking how they're doing things. And so here you have a person that Jesus is taking his time going through, making sure that the bad stuff is sorted out and away from him. But it takes time. We can't use a combine to do this stuff with. We can't use modern things to do this with. That's one reason why I believe it's so important to look at it in God's timing, because he's the one who's doing all the work. He's the one who's making sure everything's taken care of. And so it takes this time, this amount of just work, and then to clean up the area and make sure that the good is put away, and make sure the bad is gotten rid of. And so that was just kind of one thing that hit me quite a couple of weeks back, actually. And I was just busy with stuff last Tuesday and didn't get on here. I found Tuesdays are one of the best days for me. And so really, for me, it's looking at God taking his time. God's not worried about how quickly he gets this done. And we shouldn't be worried about how quickly it gets done either, necessarily. And I've used this a lot, but Isaiah 5:19 talks about that. And it's where Isaiah keeps saying woe to. And so what I can say is woe to the person who tells God to hurry up. Woe to the person that tells God to get it done right away or done in their timing. And the other area I was wanting to talk about was Luke 7. Luke 7, starting at verse 40. And this is Jesus in the house of the tax collector, basically. Scribe or tax collector. And a girl comes in, and three different parts of this story has it in a couple of different ways. Well, I'm not going to really get into that, but the girl comes in and washing his feet with her tears and her hair and anointing him with this perfume, basically. And so Jesus says to Simon, who's not Simon Peter, but Simon of whose house he's in, he says to him, a money lender had two debtors, one owed 500 denarii and other 50. When they were unable to repay, he graciously forgave them both. So which of them will love him more? Simon answered and said, I suppose the one who he forgave more. And he said to him, Jesus said to him, you have judged correctly. Turning toward the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I entered your house, you gave me no water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but since she came in, and since the time I came in, has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she anointed my feet with perfume. For this reason I say to you, her sins, which are many, have been forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little. Looking at some posts lately, some different people, and thinking on some of the other posts that they've made in the past. Whenever I was reading this earlier today, it kind of hit me that one of the most important things we have to remember is forgiveness. And many a times, a lot of people want to, say, well, I don't know how to forgive them. Look at all they've done. Look how much they hurt me. And sometimes I think we forget just how much God has forgiven us. And so we let that slip by us that, God's forgiven us a lot. He's forgiven a lot of things in us, with us, and for us. Whenever he forgives like that, we have to remember just what he's forgiven so that we can forgive the same way. Because if we forget just how much he's forgiven with us, then we're going to hold somebody else, hold stuff against them. Because you think, why should I have to forgive them a huge amount? I didn't hurt them. I didn't do this to them. But we need to reflect on the fact that God has forgiven much with us. You may not have been a huge, terrible person, but there's still a lot of things. It's like what Paul wrote in Galatians. If you break one law, if you tell a small lie, you've broken all of them. One lie means that all 10 commandments have been broken. You may have told one lie, but all 10 of those are broken. You've messed up with all of it. Not a single thing. Not just one single thing, but all of it. And so you're not just guilty of telling a lie. You're guilty of lying. You're guilty of murder. You're guilty of all of this because you did one thing. And so there's a lot of things that we have been forgiven for. And if we say, well, I can't forgive this person, then really we need to go back and look. Because like he says, he graciously forgave them both. So which of them will love more? So how can the way that we can love more is by remembering, not bringing up all the sins that we've committed, but remembering how much God has forgiven us and how much we can love from that forgiveness, how much more we can give, how much more grace we can give. That doesn't mean to, just fully accept somebody's sin. That's not what I mean, but we have to learn what forgiveness means and how to truly give forgiveness, how to truly give grace. And so whenever I read that earlier today again, is looking at this and saying, because Jesus goes on to tell her, your sins have been forgiven. At 47, for this reason I say to you, her sins, which are many, have been forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little. And so if you can think about the fact that God has forgiven you much, then hopefully you can love from that and demonstrate grace in the same fashion. And so I just wanted to come on here for a few minutes and just kind of go over those two things. And I wanted to tell you that the announcement I'll have, or that I kind of talked about a couple different times now, hopefully will be coming full circle the end of this week or the first of next week. So hopefully. It's a great little thing and something that I've been working on for quite a while. So, and thanks to the help with my wife and somebody she knows and being able to get some things done. So, but anyway, I want to thank anybody and everybody who's been on here this evening. Like I said, I didn't plan on being on here very long, but I just wanted to come on here and just kind of give those two things. So I appreciate it. And whenever I give out the information about the announcement, I'll make sure to do it here on Facebook and on YouTube. That way, anybody who's subscribed to the YouTube channel that's not a part of Facebook or a part of the group can also have an opportunity at this. So anyway, I just appreciate it, and thank you all. And just God bless.